Alright, this is a quick follow along workout for the core, full body, super simple at home workout. I am using these as my dumbbells. These are 10-pound ankle weights. If you have kettlebells or dumbbells, you can use them appropriately too. And I'm using a stopwatch that is just going to have a counting timer so I can see basic math, see how long my sets, how long my rests are, and we're going to keep it all under 25 minutes, including warm-up. So we're going to have the bare bones warm-up. We're going to go through from basically hardest, after warm-up, from hardest to easiest, more or less, and use basic equipment that you can usually set up. We'll note one thing about, I'm going to do the exercises here with my rings, or with the elastics that are attached to my rings. You can use one of these little things. You put the elastic through, the top of your door, bottom of your door, middle of your door, whatever it is. And basically simulate the same thing that I'll be doing with these. So that is the little introduction. Let's do our core kind of coordination warm-up. Make sure legs are ready for their hard part, and then we're going to do 2 leg exercises: a vertical push, vertical pull, horizontal push, horizontal pull, and that's about it. Ready, set, and bird dog. So I'm thinking about squeezing as tight as possible. I'm drawing my squares. If your wrists feel funny, you can always go in your fists. A couple of squares each direction with a neutral lumbar, and switch sides. And we'll just do 2 on each side. Noticing what the obliques feel like, what the abdominals feel like, specifically the lower core, the pelvic ring as I call it. So it wraps all the way around the front and the back. Taking big breaths that last kind of like multiple reps through this. So long, slow exhales and inhales. Squeezing the shoulder and the glute, because we all need that reminder. We get as much out of this as we put into it. It uses the clever kind of counter tension system to make it difficult. And so we're trying to ramp up that tension. We'll keep it neutral. The other warm-up we're going to do for our legs is this one, our glute bridge. Single leg, slowly coming down, kiss the ground, and then pretty quick on the way up. This is the kind of the more difficult version. If you're struggling, we'll tuck in. It's usually where we end up towards the end of the set. Now, I'm not looking at my clock on this. I'm just kind of giving my body what it needs. We'll call that good, about 6-7 reps. Feel free to move a little bit side to side, just work into the body as it wants to move. So that's really just structuring that anti-rotation because we're on one leg, glute activation. My last thing is just going to be arms and kind of legs at the same time. Again, steering around the knees, the hips, the ankles, the big toe back there. Keeping the core tight, finding length, finding contraction. Your shoulder circles, or even these elbow curls are all good options to combine in the super fast warm-up. We're going to call that it. My first one is going to be a goblet squat. You can do this with 1 or 2 weights. Just holding it right in the middle. I'll do 2 weights today. I've got my clock running. So I'm going to start at 3:15. I'm going to go to 4:45 for 1.5 minutes. Or a little longer if I wanted to. Similar format, for the most part. We're going to go slow on the way down, fast on the way up, with no rest at the top. So we're trying to keep tension through the muscle the whole 90 seconds. however long your set ends up being. The good thing is, like, if you choose really heavy weights and you can't do 90 seconds, that's fine. You're gonna get stronger, but it's gonna sacrifice some of the endurance, some of the muscle gaining stuff, some of the fat burning stuff is gonna be sacrificed. And if you choose too light weights, then you might want to go longer. You might go to 2.5 minutes, and you're not gonna get as much, max strength kind of work, but you are going to get all those other benefits. So I'm coming up to about halfway. A lot of people try to dissect their squat. I think it's a great idea just to check in with different parts of the body. What are the toes doing? Where's the weight? Is it balanced? If you have a video on or a mirror, you can check, are your knees biasing towards going in? A lot of people you can see in their hip, this kind of like C or S shape. All the things to be aware of. There's a 1.5 minutes. If you want to do one weight for a single leg hinge, that's great. It's actually harder for your core. If you want to do 2 weights, it's harder for your leg, but easier on the core. Here we go. 1.5 minutes on each. So opposite hand has the weight to the leg that's on the ground. Turn this way. I'm thinking about keeping very, very neutral, very flat, toes pointing at the ground here. Finding that stretch, coming up nice and quick. Knee bending is okay. Long, just like we're standing up here, we want to have that same posture as we're all the way bent over. No collapse of the shoulder. The most common things I see is this big twist. People reach for the ground and they can't keep their hips level because it's weaker. It's weaker when it's level. The way that the kinetics stack up. So if you even want to slightly twist inwards, you're actually going to get more out of your glutes that way. It's been a minute. We go for 30 more seconds. Again, some of these I'm doing with more of a bent knee, some of them less. It's whatever your body really wants. What I'm trying to do is keep the tension in the top of the hip though, not let it get behind the knee. I want this to be glute driven more than hamstring driven. Last one, and we'll switch without rest. Again, when you can take this one surprisingly heavy if you have a kettlebell downstairs or something. You can work your way up, and you might be surprised once you find your balance, all that good stuff. You find your form, kind of lock at that coordination. You might be doing 30, 40, 50, 80 pounds with this. If you're curious about breathing, when it comes to spinal stability, you want to learn how to stabilize the spine through all types of breath. But if you're really trying to go for the max, then you'll try to time your exhale with the transition between down and up. So I'll start exhaling, and so it's tight as I transition, which is the hard part. We've got 20 more seconds here. Make the most out of it. The last reps are the best. I'm feeling nice tightness in my back. Muscles are active. That's what I want. Meanwhile, the hip is getting nice and fatigued. But it's still staying level, staying balanced. There's our 1.5 minutes. Pretty sure. We're gonna move into the upper body. Next hardest thing, biggest muscles you can go the heaviest with, is back exercises, right? Back muscles are bigger than chest muscles. I'm gonna do this two-handed because that's the fast version. Usually I do prefer to do this one-handed, which would look something like this, where again I get into that lunge and then I'm pulling, but it takes twice as long. So if we're doing a super fast workout, we're we're gonna do it two-handed. So you can set this up in your door, find a way to do it with an elastic, and away we go. I will mention, if you don't have a band set up, you can do a bent over row, which I'll demonstrate real quick. I'll keep the time on. Bent over row with the dumbbells will look quite similar. Point is just to pull something with control. Again, you can probably go heavier than you think with these. And if you get bored, I challenge you to go on one leg and then switch halfway through, which we are about halfway through. I'm gonna go back to this one because I can go heavier with it. Obviously, if you want it to be more difficult, you can grab the band closer up so there's effectively less of it, or you can walk backwards and get more tension as well. This one I am a little bit nervous about doing it on doors because you can pull a lot of weight with your back, so doors break. We got about 5 seconds left on this set. Now again, if you had extra gas in the tank, I suggest pushing it longer. We're keeping it simple this time. Horizontal push is going to be an incline push-up. So I suggest doing some sort of just chair or stool. Exercise ball is the tricky version. In any which case, you're going to be really pushing that away, keeping that core nice and stiff. Slow on the way down, fast on the way up, comfy on the wrists. Keeping elbows in is going to be my suggestion. That elbows out kind of posture tends to grind out the shoulder a lot more, and it is mechanically advantageous. It makes it easier, but that's not what we want. We want it to be hard for the muscles and friendly for the joints, which means narrow elbows. But notice that this gets kind of cardio intense. If you're not resting at all, cardio just kind of, heart rate stays up, which is what we want. A lot of people at this point in their push-ups will start to look a little bit floppy, a little bit tall. It's not the worst thing to actually go butt up, but I am picky about letting the core collapse. It's a big no-no in my book because it puts the spine in a pretty vulnerable position. This one should be nice and difficult. That's about our 1.5 minutes. You remember what's next? A vertical pull. And I'd put this on the top of your door if you're gonna do the band mount. I'm just gonna raise it up. And this one, single arm, looks like kneeling on the ground, pulling just straight down. Double arm, if possible, you have 2 bands up high. I'm not gonna put that up today. And you just do it in the middle, and it's a pull-up. Kind of a janky setup here, but that's our pull down. I'm gonna start my time right now. Single-handed, and so for this one, in the essence of time, I'm just gonna do 45 seconds on one side, 45 seconds on the other side. I want to feel really tight in that lat, so from the shoulder blade all the way into your pelvis bones. I want to feel that muscle fire up. I find that a lot more when I'm, kind of like I'm running. I'm doing the opposite thing with my unloaded arm. That's about 45 seconds. Hard to see my clock. Boom, feel it nice. Big squeeze. Again, making sure your pelvis is on right. It's not tipped and dumping forwards. It's not curving backwards. Finding level so that our core contraction is most effective. It's the coordination we want to train. And it's not hurting our spine. Enjoy that length. I know it's hard with the bands, that's why you might need to go back further than you think. So you have tension all the way at the top. If you're sensitive about your back, if it's having a flare up or whatnot, generally shorter range of motion. If you want to push your limits and go into those end ranges, and that's fine too. Oh, I went a little too long on that one. I'm guilty. Next one is overhead press. We'll use our weights. Overhead press, you can do it nice and simple, two-handed. I prefer to do it alternating with a little step, because it just trains the coordination for running and climbing and all of that a little bit more. So I'm just keeping one leg planted and doing a little step lunge thing. If you wanted to make this more difficult, you go for that full lunge. At the halfway mark, I'll just switch which leg is planted. Again, if your legs get tired, don't stop. Keep the focus in the arms. I'm gonna switch legs there. Keep in mind, the hand that is up is the opposite to the leg that is forward. It should feel like running. If it doesn't, then just double check. You wouldn't, believe me, a lot of people end up doing this. It's not the worst thing, but it's not exactly valuable coordination that translates to life very well. There's our minute and a half. It's going too fast. What else is on our menu? We did our vertical push, we did our vertical pull, our horizontal push, a horizontal-ish pull, be anywhere around there. We did our 2 leg exercises, the hinge on the single leg, and some sort of heavier goblet squat. A ton of variations for these. You can do most of these with a band or a weight or a kettlebell or body weight if you have something like stairs or gymnastic rings. It's a lot of options. If you want a little bonus, that was only 15 minutes, so if you have 20 minutes, you want to do a little extra. Some of my favorites include the calf raise. So you're trying to balance yourself. Surprisingly simple and effective. I mean, you can do this at the grocery store line and whatnot as well. Or you can do a little extra core, which I will choose to do in this video. It's up to you whether you do it or not. The lift up, which is fantastic when done right, but not very great when done wrong. Looks, I'm doing this side like this. Again, I'm just gonna go until I'm fatigued, until I'm satisfied. Because we're on bonus time. Lifting my shoulder blades and my neck just off the ground. Not too far, but just, a fist width or so between the back of the head and the floor. Back down if you want it to be harder. Stay on the same side for a little bit. You can even put a little bit of motion just with the arm and the leg, and it'll put that rotational element without actually twisting your spine. Which, twisting the spine under load will lead to a lot more damage than just putting those same pressures on without the twist, which is what we're achieving with our leg and our arm. Finding a breath, long exhales and inhales. Being strict with your form, not letting yourself curl out, not letting yourself get too high. If you want to keep going with that, that's great. If you want more leg exercises, one of my favorites to finish with as a cool down is the wall sit. You want a flat wall for this, but this is what I have. and your feet are a little bit further out than your knees. So we call that like a 100-degree angle rather than 90. That way you can push yourself into the wall really effectively. And then just opening up the shoulders, anything with your arms that feels good for cool down. Thinking about lengthening into some of those end ranges of motion, and finishing with something nice and symmetrical. See what it feels like. I'm okay with a little bit of motion here, as long as we're pushing our hip back into the wall. Give your body what it wants here. If you've been hunching over at the computer, usually I will focus on like arms up, head back. Then you can take that as far as you want. That is still just under 20 minutes. So I'm gonna end this video so I can say it's under 20 minutes. Do super cool stuff. And of course, text me if you have any questions, any concerns.